So our next speaker is the Chief Technology Officer and creator of Scandi PWA, Mr. Alfreds Genkins. Today, he shall be giving you a presentation about building self-correcting Magento local setup. I guess we can just jump right into the discussion and also the insights from Mr. Alfreds Genkins. But before that, I'd like to quickly remind everybody about the online conference platform we are in right now. It is aimed to create a similar experience to how an offline conference would be. We have virtual booths, we have the exhibition, we have the contest page as well. So be sure to visit them and just have fun. We are hoping you are able to gather as many activity points as possible and also get up on the leaderboard, because we have a lot of attractive prizes just waiting for you, such as Apple AirPods. We have an Acer Aspire laptop as well. And for those who are living in overseas, if we somehow find some sort of difficulties in shipping those items to you, don't worry, we also have alternative prizes. Isn't that just amazing? We have Amazon gift cards as well as as alternative prizes, so you can still win the prizes and get rewards from your activity points on today's event. Okay, I'm pretty sure the speaker is already looking forward to talking with you all right now. So I will just give the virtual stage to him. Please welcome our speaker, Mr. Alfreds Genkins.
Yeah. Hey, I first want to say that it was an amazing presentation by Vinay. Loved it. Yeah.
All right, you're up.
Sorry.
No
Yeah, I wanted to highlight first that it was an amazing presentation by Vinay. I really love how they are moving the product forward. So great job. They're doing great. I'm, as a creator of the PWA product, the Scandi PWA, also have something interesting to share, but this time it's not in regards of how the sites are building or how we suggest to do it. Yeah, it's about a new thing which I assume was very necessary in Magento community. So I have a question now. So live sharing is okay, it's going on, so let me then proceed with it. Yeah, so let's talk a bit about how we set up Magento locally, because for the agency, I'm working at the agency, and for us, setting up Magento is casual process, and it usually has its quirks and features in terms of you have to learn it first, at least a bit. Yeah, because it always, if something goes wrong, you have to research, you have to find out what's going on, and as a junior, you tend to spend more time than needed because of the dependencies. We wanted to approach this solution in order to make the process of Magento local setup as streamlined as it possibly can be. So with that said, I wanted to introduce you to the Create Magento app, an interesting product that we have going on for some time. And this product is essentially focusing on making your local setups much easier and much more flexible than you ever had them before. And I really hope that today I will explain you why and give you some reasons to try it. And I will approach it from two perspectives, both business and developer. Yeah, because I'm standing somewhere in the middle, so it's an interesting thing to share. So first, let's talk a bit about existing solutions and how we normally do it, because, well, let's just look around what's possible. Again, wait, I think I missed a slide, but it's okay, no problem. Let's talk a bit here about the current Magento setup, what's going on. First, we don't have a standard, which means that, yes, we have some documents in Magento, which takes us to dependency list and which talks about preferred settings, but it's up to you to find where to put these settings into. And if you don't do it, well, you might end up having a very poor performance, like having a Redis locking enabled. You kind of screw your performance down in a very rapid fashion, but you never know before you scroll the full documentation down. And yeah, that's a thing. Then lacking the official tool support means that we basically have no, because we don't have a standardized solution or like a pattern that we should follow, we cannot really implement a tool to follow it. Well, we could, but it would lead to some misreadings or that support. And then the final and the most important issue to me is that basically all issues are dumped into stock exchanges and not the code, or not basically a single source of truth. So it's not shared. The knowledge is actually shared and left for you to discover, but it's not actually working for you. You have to first search for the solution, and it could have multiple reasons. Yes, but it could be easier if it would be automatous. So like, we have issue reported, we implement a solution to it, which would patch it automatically, then we proceed onwards. So it's much more robust solution with file saves. Another thing is that we can all see that current installation times, at least in our company, are very different. Don't have a precise figures here. I should have put them in, but basically the native Magento installation for the first time, with all dependencies and with all PHPs, MySQLs configured, with all of those Nginx configs that you put inside, with all those Apache servers that you have to stop first because they were pre-installed on your machines, with all of those PHP versions that are out of date, with Xdebug not working, etc. It takes up to 35 hours for the junior to set up Magento natively, which is completely not ideal, because this time is, for you as a business, not billable, and for you as a developer, absolutely frustrating, because you're wasting your days off into some kind of setup, which is not your job. Actually, your job is to code. So the infrastructure could be left to some other smarter guys or some more experienced guys, but it's your computer. You have to do it locally. Yeah. Then we come to Docker. Docker is a bit more standardized. Well, we have all the versions and configurations built in, but Docker has its own downsides, like performance issues. We'll talk about this later, but anyway. And again, the Docker has a steep learning curve of, you have to execute some commands to first get into it. Yeah, you have to do multiple. If something goes wrong, you're unable to easily resolve it, because, well, it's Docker, you have to get into container, and then you have some permission issues. Again, it's less frustrating, but it's still absolutely nuts. You spend more than 2 days on local setup. And then we come for this Create Magento App approach. Sorry, I have, I think, a very bad noise in my background, so we'll switch the location a bit. Unexpected grass cutting is always fun. Yeah, sorry. So the Create Magento App solution that we have developed decreases the installation time for the developer dramatically, but I wouldn't say it's down to 8 hours, so it's a day, and we are cutting it further and further. But current limitation is that basically developers just don't understand how Magento works, so the app runs, and then they kind of play around. So okay, let's then switch a little bit further and see what are the issues with Mac and Docker, and see how can we approach it, and how can we combine all of those into one perfect solution, or not so perfect. So first, we can see here that performance of Mac and Docker is completely bad, because first, it has this hyperkit process that just eats your memory, and that can eat more than you have allowed him to eat. That's useless, I would say, because it's like breaking my heart to see Magento eating like 2 gigabytes of my RAM, and hyperkit process eating the rest 8. Yeah, so just a very complicated thing to do, but that's not the main bad thing. The main bad thing is that you can actually have a very poor performance on synchronized volumes. And as Magento is basically a very big volume of data with a lot of files, you have very bad times of tracking the file changes in it. Thus, you need some mutagen or some other synchronization tool in order to synchronize your container volumes and your local volumes. And using such tools leads to data inconsistencies, and sometimes some weird cache that could lead to different kinds of issues, which you would be trying to resolve, thinking about them as an issue in the code, while in reality, those are issues with your infrastructure. and that's unacceptable, and that's very frustrating for junior developers especially. So the Docker is great for service containment, but it's very bad in terms of the Magento containment. So if you run Magento in a volume, you kind of screwed. But we like how we can host these services inside of Docker because they are versionized, and it's easy to switch their versions and upgrade. And they have this volumes that are basically detached and named volumes that are stored somewhere in your system that you can use. You connect to MySQL, it has the database already in it. Useful, we would like to keep it, but let's see how do we approach this. So here is the hybrid deployment, and hear me out, that's a new thingy. I think somebody has ever did this, but for us, it was a new experience, and we're very excited to introduce it to you. And that's an automated tool. So first of all, we are running all services in Docker. That allows us to, again, inherit all the best features of it. We can switch versions, we can keep configurations, we can sync volumes, and that all just works. And that's beautiful and amazing. And for PHP, we also want to switch versions and manually configure extensions for each of your projects. So what's the solution? Again, to use some kind of PHP Version Manager. And that's an interesting thing. So it's running locally, and then you're connecting them together in order to make basically a hybrid deployment of your Magento project. And this is the basics of the architecture. But such architecture requires rapid orchestration because you kind of need to connect all of those services in. You need to make sure they are up to date. You need to do all this stuff. To just, I hate grass cutting on the diagram. I'm really sorry. I cannot control this. Yeah, so let's move a little bit forward to maintenance costs, because again, I said that this infrastructure is costly to maintain. In terms of if I would be running it manually on my computer, I would be really upset of always having to connect those networks in. Thus, we would have to create some infrastructure as a code in order to manage these things out. And let's see, what did we choose as a tool in order to implement this? Well, in Docker, usually you have those bash scripts or shell scripts which start on the container run. This is fine, but the knowledge needed to write those scripts is much more hard to obtain than knowledge needed to write Node.js scripts. Thus, we want our infrastructure to be based in Node.js because it's just simpler and easier to maintain and contribute. Thus, we choose Node.js as a source of our infrastructure, as a source of our as a language for our implementation of infrastructure management tool. And again, the updates are very simple. So you can simply upgrade your local setup runner and get some new features like database import from server, which is automated and blah, blah, blah. Yes, you can do it with a single command because of the infrastructure, which is provided by Node.js scripts. And here you can see examples of using your favorite package controls, package version managers. Something I screwed up. Yeah, and then new instance in a single command with Node.js. Yes, we can also use the Node.js architecture in order to create new copies of our application, or just create new Magento instances with a single command, which is kind of unheard of. It's very simple to start a project now. You can just do it with a single command. And yes, we have even more features because we're not limiting ourselves by this, basically. We have a file state, as I told you before. We are accumulating all of our known and reported issues, and we fix them in code. Thus, we provide a solid solution for them, which can be reused and easily shared. And this is why we need this update feature for you, so you can keep updated and receive latest updates of different bugs that we encounter in Magento installation that now gets the file safe built into them. And you can see as well that we have automatic port dependency and permission resolution, which means that once we come to your computer and we see you have not installed Docker, we prompt you, would you like to install Docker? Then we install Docker for you. And this comes to, we built PHP for each project, thus we need all dependencies. So we build on top of our PHP version managers in order to request the specific packages from your file system, so you don't have to do it manually. It's all automated because we want this to be easily installable by juniors to save time for both business and frustration for developers. So it's a very complicated tool internally, but it's very simple to use on a surface. It just prompts you, would you like to install dependencies? You say, okay, yes, I would. Or you would like to do it manually, then we give you a command to do it. So it's a very user-friendly, or in our case, developer-friendly command, because we at Scandi PWA are focusing on building best experience for developers. Thus, we are considering ourselves good at it. Yeah, so okay, that's the features that we provide. And that's not all of them. Again, we also improve the developer quality of life by allowing you to simply Xdebug like this. So you just say, okay, run an Xdebug mode, add a flag to start command of your Magento instance, and you now got yourself an Xdebug mode. It was possible in Docker, but it's even simpler now with Create Magento App. Automatic dump imports from remote server with synthesization, yeah, and it goes on, because what we have discovered is that basically all workflows related to Magento local development are actually unoptimized and not standardized. So when we say import a database, or keep your database synchronized with your QA instance where the quality assurance is done, the developers struggle. And we notice this across everywhere because nobody actually knows how to properly import and sanitize their databases, and that there are ways to import database not completely but partially, etc. There are multiple things that are not considered, and without actually a single source of truth or without knowledge sharing are inaccessible to junior developers because they will never learn it, or they would, but in a very long term. Yes. So finally, we come to the configurable settings option. That again, any service is configurable. You can say which version you want. You can provide a configuration you would like it to, and you can keep it in your Git. So it's just installable in your project. Any PHP version is supported, automatically installed and switched. So you can say I want it to run on this version, and it will install you this version locally. It will build it for you on your local machine, and it will basically keep it local to your project. It will not replace your main PHP version. And again, any PHP extension. So you can configure any PHP extensions, just include them, and they will be built into the version used by your project. That's a very, I would say, interesting approach in this regard. And the best thing about this is, let's wait a little bit on support of Magento versions, but the best thing about it is that all of this comes with just a single file inside of your Magento root directory. So normally you have this app code and stuff, and you have this composer JSON in your root of Magento project. And with Create Magento App, you only add one file, which is package JSON, and you add the Magento scripts dependency to it, which makes it much more easier to actually manage in the long run. Now moving to Magento version support. So we support Magento 2.3.0 and upwards. This means that you're likely already able to try Create Magento App on your project right now, and it should just work for you. So 2.3.0 was a very long time ago, so I'm hopeful we are supporting your version. And finally, the results. Yes, just like the Vinay had this presentation, I also have the results to share. and they're very simple and very subjective. Developers are happy. Why? Because, well, we don't have any more Magento hidden dependencies. We don't have any more project conflicts. We don't have no more performance issues in Mach, and we can continue this list of having no more manual issue resolution or Googling of issues that we do. We just report issues, and architecture guys who are working on this product just define a valid solution and implement this in code. So it's boom, now everybody has this fix on his local setup. That just works, and it makes life so much easier for a developer. And on the business side, again, that's brilliant. You have a project which is installable in 4 hours. So 4 hours for junior developers, you can actually having the built PHP version already on your computer, install it in under 5 minutes, which I have on video right now. So if we have some time, we might view it up. And again, these setup issues are fixed across project and knowledge is shared. And for business, knowledge sharing is very important because it's very hard to dedicate time of senior developers on helping juniors with local setups because this time is not billable. And this knowledge sharing is actually costs you a lot of money. So you can save money by using such tools. And we develop such tools because we are a business-oriented company first. So we're caring about business. And the demo, potentially we can take a look at it. Hopefully it will kind of work. Not sure. So this is not myself recording. This is actually the creator recording. And as you can see, it runs the npx Create Magento App command that simply installs the project for him. That's not speed that up. It's just the time it took. So you can see that it then suggested him to install and the commands, which is now available, starts Magento 2, stops, restarts, cleanups and stuff. So he enters the directory and then he simply runs the npm command, which starts the Magento script. And you can see that this is for his first run. So the Create Magento App suggests him to select a Magento version he would like to start. And you can see his selecting some version. And you can see that as well as Magento version installation, the prompt has asked him and validated his dependencies. Here you can see the PHP brew versions, PHP brew, which is PHP Version Manager, Docker, Composer, Node.js, and all of that was checked automatically. And we can see that he is now choosing to install the latest Magento, which then the configuration is figuring out the proper version of PHP for him, and proper Composer version, it's 2 or it's version 1, it's installing it, it's pulling the container images, it's configuring the stuff. You see it skipped Prestissimo installation because it's no longer needed for Composer 2. It does all of this stuff. I'm sorry, I have skipped a small part of it. So you can see, yes, it's indeed installing it. It will install the Magento 2 in just a second. It's installing it using Decomposers. It's official approach, nothing junky here. And then it starts the services, then it started the PHP FPM, and now it's waiting for MySQL server to connect. And you see it waiting for initialization of MySQL at the first time. And this all happens in Node.js, so it's easily manageable, it's easily contributable. Now we can see it setting up Magento, it flushed the cache, it then waited for Redis, it's updating the env PHP if it's needed. This is the first setup, so we're not updating env PHP or the env PHP is up to date with our MySQL credentials. Then we're migrating the databases. You can see that current Magento migration is in progress, yes. What we can see here is that it will proceed with it, yes, and it will do its job. And it's what you normally do manually, but it's completely automated right now. So you can see that after it's finished I'm sorry, I switched the slide. So again, it took him 2 minutes actually to install. I tell you 15 minutes, but it's actually 2 minutes to install locally. And I hope he will show how the project is opened in the end of this setup. So you can see, yes, the setup upgrade was run, the admin user was created, the Magento was switched into developer mode, two-factor authentication was disabled for development. It generated URN for the IXML file highlighting, and basically, boom, you're done. You are now running your Magento on some port. You can see this web location, which was printed in the end, and it gave you the admin panel accesses and admin location, and it did everything in 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And I tell you, that is just amazing how simple it is and how much time it saves once you start really using it. Yeah, so sorry. So yeah, this is how it works on the developer perspective side. You can install it in 2 minutes. If you have all dependencies, it will take 15 minutes if you have no dependencies. And yeah, for junior developer, it's just amazing how simple that actually is. So how to try this? I won't give you any links. I just tell you, Google the Create Magento app and use the instructions that are provided there. I showed you examples of npx installation. This is how you can install it. Just Google it up, Create Magento app. You will make your life so much easier afterwards. And yeah, that's it about Create Magento app. Just wanted to share with you about this exciting product that we created, because I think it could save a lot of time. And we at ScandiWeb have this amazing tradition of sharing internal tools with the world, because we like to make the world a bit better. This is how ScandiPWA got open sourced. We're selling it for free because we as a corporation always can make money out of it, but we think the community should also benefit in any way. Yes, so Create Magento App helps our business. ScandiPWA helps our business. So we invest in those products and we share them for free. Yeah, that's how it works. And check out ScandiPWA. It's even cooler than that, because all those architecture solutions are actually coming and are inherited from ScandiPWA. And all of these Create Magento app things, they basically install you a normal Magento, but you have an option, always have an option to switch to add a ScandiPWA to it that will work perfectly with it as well. And that's the end. And thank you so much for watching. Yeah, I'm ready to answer questions if we have any left.
Hello, Mr. Alfreds. Thank you very much. You got even a video coming up there and giving a really wholesome demo for everybody watching here. I hope that it was helpful for all the developers who are watching to be able to see how it works in real life and how it works in the code side of things. Okay, I think right now, I figure we can enter the Q&A segment just real quick with one question. I think I personally feel like this can be a great opportunity for us to get to know ScandiPWA better, since you are also the creator of ScandiPWA. I think a question from my side would be, what sort of advancements we can look forward to? What is cooking in the kitchen of ScandiPWA that you can also share with the rest of the audience?
Yes, sure. We have this 1 minute left. And I want to share that basically ScandiPWA in upcoming years will evolve into a modular product that is very easy to integrate with. It will be easy to switch out the parts of it to parts that you really like. It will move into more theme-based approach. So we'll have a blank theme that you will be building on top of. And not just that, but we will give you the completely 100% drag and droppable experience of managing your Magento site. This means that you will be able to completely design your front end, the product pages, category pages, everything with drag and drop, just like you do in Shopify editor, but in Magento. And it will be powered by the same technology that Adidas and Puma and Ford and other guys are using, which is ScandiPWA. So we are coming into those in this small, we are building for large enterprises, but we are also focusing on those smaller groups of people, making Magento more accessible. And that's what we are cooking up for you. So stay tuned. It will be very interesting, I promise you. Just like this technology.
Wow, okay. I'm very glad I asked you that, and you also get the chance to introduce that. I'm pretty sure people are even more interested, so we should visit their website. I think Mr. Alfreds also mentioned that, and just check them out. Well, figure maybe it can be your next, for engineers out there, it can be your next project, or it can be your next integration, and so on. Very glad. We actually have another question. I think we can spare a few minutes to answer this. Perhaps you can also enlighten us. So somebody is asking, what if I use a native environment like Unix or Linux instead of Docker for local development? Because I've done this on some Magento projects. I have performance issue on my older Mac with Docker. Maybe you can help?
Yes. This is technology specifically built for you. The Create Magento app works on Mac, Windows, Linux, anywhere. You can create your Magento projects in 2.5 minutes, just like I showed you on this video. And not just that, but we will give you all of the dependencies you needed, and you will not have a performance issues because we are not running PHP and Docker, or basically we are not synchronizing volumes. Only volumes that don't need a synchronization, like your services, which are just, these volumes are just for data storage. So they're not synced back and forth, they're just dumped inside like MySQL. It's used for that. So you don't have performance issues on Windows, on Linux, and on Mac OS specifically. Yes, I hope, and if you are using something on your native, you must have issues with configuring your Nginx every time, or making sure the ports are okay, or ensuring you're using right PHP versions. The Create Magento app solves everything out of this for you. It uses correct versions of services, uses proper version of PHP with proper extensions. You don't have to build them. It's just there for you. And it's open sourced because we love to share with community.
Thank you very much. I really hope that has been helpful for the person who is asking, Mr. Diva. So it felt like a whole training / workshop experience. Thank you again, Mr. Alfreds. That was absolutely insightful. It's so great to have you here. I hope you also enjoyed sharing that with the rest of the audience.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching. And thank you, Jesse, for hosting this. You're an amazing host.
Oh, thank you. Very kind of you. See you in Meet Magento 2022. Goodbye.